excited to share with you this Sweet Birds project. It is a pop-up card, and I did promise you that I would show you how to do a pop-up card. This is a basic pop-up card. You can get really crazy with it if you want. I tried to keep it simple since it's our first one. And I told you that I would show you how to design one so that you could make other pop-up cards for yourself. Okay, so I did some of the stamping ahead of time because for time-wise, because this is going to be a little more detailed, but some of the things I'll still do with you just because I don't need to be totally lost in the dark. So the first thing that we need to do is I've got a piece of balmy blue. This is my inside. This is the inside that's going to go here. So maybe that's a better side. This is a basic 5.5 by 8.5 thick basic white cardstock, scored at 4 1/4. But I don't want to fold it yet. Well, I guess I could. It doesn't matter because this isn't going to be. So I'm going to fold that and crease it. Then I have a piece of balmy blue. I should have wrote this down. It's 5 by 8. So 5 by 8. This is going to be the inside. But when I did just the cardstock, it looked really boring. So I decided I would put some edging around it with some ink. So let me grab my Tahitian Tide. I actually started first to do the balmy blue ink. It just didn't. So I went a step above and got the Tahitian Tide. If you don't have Tahitian Tide, then you can just use balmy blue, but hopefully you've got Tahitian Tide. It is one of the new, I'm going to try to not get ink on my fingers. That's going to be a lost cause, I'm sure. But as little as possible. So I want to have, and this would actually look better than the one here because that one I did actually after, with the Tahitian Tide, I did it after I mounted it on the card. So that was a real treat for me to try to add this Tahitian Tide around the edge after I'd already put the card together. And it didn't come out looking the greatest, but it did look okay. And I'm going to make sure that that edge is nice and dark. Now I'm just using a sponge eye shadow applicator. You could use anything you've got, spongy wise. I keep dunking my finger in there, and then I'm dumb and wipe it there. So now for sure it's going to get on something. There we go. Pretty, pretty, pretty. So that just kind of gives it some dimension. And I'm definitely going to wipe my fingers off. It's hard to work with ink without getting anything on your fingers. And if you expect to, well, you need to lower your expectations because it isn't going to happen. Checking for comments. Okay. So I think I'm done with this for now. I'm not sure. I'm going to set it aside just because. Get it out of the way. Now, we'll get off to this later. This is the Sweet Songbirds stamp set. So cute. And then it has the punch. So you're going to need, well, here's the thing. Here's the thing. Before I do this, I need to make my bird. I need to make the bird and the nest and everything. Now I've already stamped, so I've got some soft suede, just a 1/4 sheet, 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, that I stamped the nest and the branch on. And now I'm going to get some scissors, and I'm going to cut that branch out. Yes, it's not as hard as you might think. It's okay. We're not going to stress today over what everybody calls fussy cutting, because practice makes perfect. And these are pretty much straight lines, so you don't have to do a lot of turning yet. When we get to the nest, you will, but for now, it's easy peasy. So this is soft suede stamped with early espresso, but you could use soft suede if you didn't have. In fact, I thought about using soft suede, but I liked the darker look. And I could have put this on white paper instead of cardstock, but it wouldn't have enough oomph to it. It was too flimsy, because I did that first. And I found it was too flimsy, so I said, I'm getting it to myself. I said, because I talked to myself. I said, I need to put that on something that has a little more, I don't know the word, form to it, or heaviness, like the cardstock. The nest also stamped in early espresso. Now this you don't have to do what I did, okay? I am doing this like this. Then I kind of went around it like this. Now if you wanted to stop there, you could. But I liked the look of kind of a real nest where it wasn't perfectly rounded on the edge where the twigs are. So I just kind of went in places where it was kind of all soft suede cardstock and not stamped. And I just kind of went in, turned, and went out. Went in, turned, and went back out. And that kind of gives me more of a, it's a nest and not a bowl. But if you don't feel comfortable doing this, and you don't have to be any particular perfect at it, but I think it just looks more like a nest if you go to the trouble of doing this. But don't have to. You have my permission to do what is easy for you, because we do have a bit of fussy cutting. Some people don't like that term, fussy cutting. I don't know why. It's no big deal. I mean, we're just talking about fussy cutting. Okay, and then for the leaves here on the branch, I stamped on a scratch piece of white piece of paper. This is 5 1/2 by 2 1/2. It doesn't have to be that. It looks like I only used 4, so I'm only going to cut 4 of these off. And I'm going to try to do this quickly so that you don't have to watch. I debated whether I wanted to do this ahead, and I thought, well, no, they're going to want to see me do some of the work. Maybe get some ideas. So it's best to just leave your scissors in one place and just turn the paper. So I'm turning this paper around. I don't know if you can see me do that. These little leaves are hard to do, but I can do them. That's 3. One more. One more here. Turning the paper. All right, so there's my 3 leaves. What else do I need? Okay, everything else I think we're going to punch. Punch, punch, punch. So this larger piece of Tahitian Tide, I'm going to go on the front. And I went ahead and stamped the front. I have to tell you. So this, if you look at the eyes, I went a little heavy here, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I meant to do that over. But then I thought, you know, it kind of looks like eyelashes, like, you know, it's real popular right now, those big eyelashes, and people bat around at each other. Well, so it's a girl bird. She's got big eyelashes. So that way, that's what I'm going to explain away my error. I got a little heavy-handed with the ink, so be careful. Don't do that. Don't do like me. And then this is a wing for the front of the bird. I guess we can go ahead and cut that. This is the small wing, okay? Don't get confused, because there's 2 sizes of birds. This one's on the inside, this one's on the outside. This is the wing for this bird, and this is you can use this. It's not really a wing, it's kind of a wing, or you can also put it here. And then this can also cover the belly, or it can be a wing. But this is the wing here that I'm using. So so this is the little one that we're going to use for the outside bird here. I used garden green for the leaves, Tahitian Tide for the bird, crushed curry for the beak, and then inside here I used dark Daffodil Delight Stampin' Blends Bullet Point. Now I wanted to tell you something. I used placement. I used my Stamparatus, and I used the plastic like we always use, the 4x6 plastic, to line up the eyes and the nose, or the beak. And the bird, I wanted to make sure I got it on the feet, so I used it to you know, I stamped on the plastic, then I lined it up, and then I stamped on the paper. That's how I got it to line up. Because even though the stamps are see-through, I can't line them up. It never works for me. It comes close. Maybe I'm just too much of a perfectionist, and that's why I have to use the Stamparatus. Okay, so this is the little wing that I showed you in Tahitian Tide ink. And I'm going to put that on with a glue dot, a mini glue dot. Now the basic stuff, the stamping and stuff, you can find in the annual catalog. If you have any questions, email me, Carolbcrafts@hotmail.com, and I will answer your question. Okay, there's the little birdie's wing. Ta-da! Now it's ready to go on the front. But we'll do that in a minute. In a minute. Let's build our bird. Our nest needs a bird. So I'm going to, this is 3 by 5.5. I'm just going to stamp this. I'm going to stamp it once, maybe. Sorry, I don't know why it's giving me so much trouble. It didn't earlier. And then I'm going to stamp this. I need one. I have one of these little wings. I need another one. So I'm just gonna find where that little wing is, right here, and maybe stick the corner there in. Ow! Kind of pinched me. Okay, you'd think I'd be good at this after all my... Okay, so here's our little bird. We got a couple of wings. We don't need this. Belly needs to be white. So I think I got a piece of white cardstock. Oh, you know that piece of white cardstock I stamped on and just cut everything out? I was supposed to save that to stamp out, punch out the belly, which is right here. Okay, now we're doing good. So this is going to go here, and what you want to do is kind of find where the curve meets and matches, and it's kind of like right there. I would say about 1/4 of an inch from right here where the tail and the body meet. And I'm just going to use some. Now if you find that your cuts are a little rough, you can always use a very fine nail file and even them out a little bit. So I'm going to get that tail there. Oh, sticky. If you're here, make a comment so I know you're here. Okay, so here goes the belly. Now this is where I get ink. I don't get ink on my finger, I get glue on my finger. So okay, I have to look and see what I did. I did a wing here. I'm going to put that on with the glue dot. And it's easier if you have one of these, take your pick tools or any kind of pointy thing. I'm hoping that that's where I want my wing. And then I'm going to put a glue dot on this wing. I might roll it back a little bit away from the front, away from the pointy part. And then I'm just going to see how I did that. This wing was pointing up. I don't know if it matters, but I kind of liked it pointing up. Not all the way. Pointing up and not down. I got a little bit of glue sticking out here. I'm just going to get rid of it. Okay, so there's that part. yellow. So this is Daffodil Delight cardstock, and I put some adhesive sheet on the back because this little beak is so tiny that if you try to I wonder if I have that in the lock position or something. Okay, so I'm just gonna try to take off a little bit, and there it is. I thought it was gonna go flying. So I'll just keep this around for more beaks. Now first I thought the beak went like this. Oops, 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 oops. Like that. These are so tiny. But it doesn't. Well, I guess you could do it that way. But this way, it looks like the little bird is singing. So I'm going to try my best to separate that. It's so tiny. I could have been a surgeon. Well, I guess not. I think I just killed the patient. All right, come out of there. Now I lost the patient. Okay, here we go. So this is a singing bird. So it's going to be singing. All right, now the eyes. That I will stamp with you watching, and I don't know if I need to bring out, I'm going to try to do it without bringing out my stamp apparatus. I'll probably hate myself, but we'll see. We'll see. I hate to bring it out just for that one little thing, for the eyeballs. Okay, so my thing is good and inky, so that shouldn't be a problem. Just don't want to press down too hard, or I'll have another bird with eyelashes. Okay, yay! That worked. I'm so glad. I'm so glad. So I have all my stamps here on this block. This is, it's for background stamps. It's an F block, but I'm finding this is really handy when I'm working with several stamps to put it on the F block and keep it to the side. All right, so you did get to see me do some stamping. Let's see, inside. Okay, so now we can put our little bird in the nest, and it's just a tiny bit here at the bottom. Doesn't take long for this glue to stop up. Just a little bit of a thing at the bottom, as you can see, and put my little bird in the nest. I'm trying to center it. Oh goodness. Let that stick for a while. It's kind of it won't stick as long as I'm moving it around, I'm sure. Let's see if that's going to hold. It's important that it holds. Okay, so now our little bird is ready to go in. Let's do our branch. And I'm going to do, with the branches, I'm just going to do dots of glue along the top. 1, 2, 3. Get my leaves. 1. To do this before the glue starts to dry. 2. And 3. Now this leaf needs to go over because it doesn't look like it's on the branch. It looks like it's and then I'm going to put a glue dot, not a glue dot, a dot of glue here and a leaf. There. Now the thing that you're going to notice is it's sticky on the back where the glue has oozed. Well, we can't leave that sticky because if we do, when we close the card like this, and if this is sticky on the back, it's going to stick to the back part. We can't have that. No, we can't. So if you have some, you know, for embossing, we use this little embossing buddy. If you just dab that on the back, good, like that, it gets rid of the sticky. And then you have a nice powder on your desk. And you can just wipe it off if you have a cloth. If it gets on the front, which it will, just wipe it off with the cloth gently. You want to make sure nothing is sticky. Feels like it might be sticky there on that leaf there. Okay. Now we have the inside. We are ready to do the part where we actually make the part that the card makes the card pop up. So you'll need, I'm looking for comments. I don't have any comments. All right, so you'll need your cutter, your paper trimmer, and you'll need your piece of 5x8 balmy blue. Now, whenever you're doing a card, a pop-up card, you find your center first. So if this is 8 inches long, and since this is a landscape card, I'm going to do it this way. 4 inches is half of 8, so 4 inches is going to be our guide in our cutting. So, where'd my card go? When you look at your image that you're going to put in the center, you need to know 2 things. How wide is it, and how tall is it? This, I already measured it. I needed it 1/2 inch, 1.5 inches tall. I didn't want to go past the bird. And then anything more than 1/2 inch wide would show, which I didn't want that. I didn't want it to show. So it needs to be 1/2 inch wide and at least 1.5 inches tall. And this is going to make sense in a minute. So my mechanism is 1/2 inch wide, and it's 1.5 inches from the bottom. It's 3/4 inch from the back. So those are the measurements that we need to know. We decided 1/2 inch wide, 1.5 inches tall, 3/4 of an inch from the back. So if this is 5, half of 5 is 2.5 or 2.5. And we want it in the middle. We want our half a strip in the middle. So where would we cut? We need to cut 1/4 of an inch from this side of the center and 1/4 of an inch from that side of the center, and that will give us 1/2 inch. So if this is 2.5 inches from the center here and 2.5 inches from here, making 5, we're going to put this, okay, that's 2.5, but we want to subtract 1/4 of an inch. So we're going to subtract 1/4 of an inch. And we know that the center is 4, so we're going to put our cutting blade at 4, right here. And we want it 1.5 inches tall, so we're going to go up 1.5 inches. So that would be to 3, 2.5. So from 4 to 2.5. Now we know that we want it to be 3/4 of an inch from the back. So we're going to go from 4 to 4 3/4. And that will do the top, the height, and then the width. 2.5, 4 3/4. We're not going to turn it, we're going to flip it. 2 1/4, 4, up to 2.5, down to 4 3/4. Okay, there's the beginning of our little thing. So hopefully you can follow that. Hopefully. Don't get mad at me, guys. Oh, well, before we put that away, we need to do some scoring. So the side that faces you, you're going to score it. Let's see. I think it's easier to flip it over to the back. And so this is the top, this is the bottom. I'm going to score at 2.5. And you can just line up with the lines here. So the line here is going to match the line there, back and forth. And you basically just scored across where that ends. You just scored across here. Now you're going to go score here, and that's going to be, so 3 1/4. 3 1/4. Find your lines and go back and forth. Okay, 3 1/4 here and 2.5 here, right? Yeah, I'm just going to do that again just to make sure I got it good. What we're going to do is score at 4 1/4. I mean, yeah, at 4. So score from 4 to the cut lines on that side, and 4 to the cut lines on this side. This is not as hard as it has to be. All right, so we're going to fold, start to fold on there, and this is going to kind of find its own way as you fold them together. Kind of push it up in there. The only reason I have you That did not find its way. This is embarrassing. Get up there and stop misbehaving. There. Is that right? Yeah, that's right. So this is 3/4 of an inch and that's a 1/2 inch. You might have to help it find its way. It's sometimes better if you can score it, but I was confused, so I couldn't figure it out where to score it. So that's what you end up with. That's where we're going to, and I hope you're not totally confused. This is where we're going to put, I guess we should put this on first, maybe. Although I don't think I did when I was making it. All right, so this is going to go here, and we have to figure out, where's our bird? We have to figure out where we're going to place this, but we don't want to place it, so the bird's going to go all the way down to the bottom here. But we don't want to place this anywhere where it's going to get, so we don't want it touching the bottom. We don't want to put it anywhere close enough to the bottom that it's going to catch when it closes. So I'm thinking about a 1/2 inch from the bottom. So I'm going to put some little bit of glue there, a 1/2 inch from the bottom. And then I'm going to put this in place. And I'm just going to let it sit there like that till it dries. And then when I think that it's dry enough, I'm going to put some, oops, it's not quite dry enough. Put some glue there. And then I'm going to put my little bird here. And then I can just kind of close it. And there's my bird. So I need to let it dry a little bit more before we go on. I'm going to crease this here too. Now that's going to go on the inside. Like so, and there we go. There's our little pop-up. So you put it up next to the, do your corners first. Here's your corners. Make sure your corners are good. You don't want it oozing though, so don't get too crazy with it. That's a little crazy, huh? So I'm using the bottom to actually line it up, you know, distance from side to side and from the top, because I don't want it to be too much into that crease. It will give it too much bulk. I hope you can make this. I hope I didn't confuse you with the cutting. Okay, so that part's done. So now we're just going to flip it over, do the corners again, and shut it down. Shut it down. Okay, that's the basic part of our pop-up. Now you can do that with anything. There's plenty of videos on YouTube on how to do the mechanism. This one was a little tricky because it was just a 1/2 inch wide, because we wanted to hide it behind the little bird. So now I have some clouds from my favorite stitched clouds from the dies. Where are you? From the Give It a Whirl dies. Give It a Whirl dies. And those dies are in the annual catalog. There's 3 of them. I love cloud dies, and these are precious. So it took me a while to convince myself to buy this, and I'm really glad I did. So these 3 from the Give It a Whirl dies. And let me see, how did I place those? It looks like I put this one here, this one here, and then this one down here, kind of behind the bird. And I'm going to put those on with glue dots because I want them to have a little bit of dimension. If I put them on with glue, they lay so flat that there's no dimension to it at all. And I'm twisting these off, so twist off if you can. And then this one, I'm going to put it here behind that. There's that. What's missing? What's missing? This part down here. This is from the Scalloped Contours dies, another one of my favorites in the annual catalog. It's the 3rd largest rectangle in Scalloped Contours dies, and the 3rd largest in the group. I stamped it with, use the leaf die, and it's Your Special Day to go with the front. So I'm going to glue that in. This is 3 1/4 by 2 piece of basic white. 3 1/4 by 2 fits right inside there. That die, and still shows you the stitching. It doesn't cover up the stitching. So 3 1/4 by 2, and that's going to go here in front of the little bird. I like to use the glue when I can because it helps me to center things a little better and gives me time to make adjustments. Okay, the inside is done. Now we're going to do the front, and I'm so glad I went ahead and stamped this because we would be here till after dinner. So this is 4 3/8 by 3 1/8. 4 3/8. So here it is on the back. 4 3/8 by 3 1/8, and I stamped on this. Then we have a piece of Tahitian Tide, which is 5 1/4 by 4 by 5 1/4. So this is going to go on the front. It looked really plain, just having that, and I didn't have an embossing folder. So what I did is I got out my, and something that small, you'd think, well, that doesn't really matter, but it does. If you see it in person, it matters. Alright, so what I did is I made a mess here. I took it and I did 1/2, 1/4, and then 1/2 from that was 1 1/4, then another 1/4, added 1/4, and I added 1/2, added 1/4, added 1/2, and then a quarter, and then a half, and then a quarter. And this looked kind of plain at the top, so I decided to do a quarter down there too. So that gave it some dimension and some look. And I originally planned to do it that side, but then when I turned it over and saw the little bumpy side, I actually liked that better. So let me put this on, and then I can put this on our card. It may not matter to you. I suggest you watch the video before you make the card, because I do make goof ups every once in a while. Okay, there's my big eyelashes birdie. It's your special day. A little bird told me it's your special day. And I guess I should have probably used blue, but there was just so much blue already, so I used the basic black, or the Memento Tuxedo Black. And then the last, I saw that's too plain. I need more. And that's when I got these, and they are from the new mini catalog, Fine Sparkle Adhesive Back Gems. I have 1 large and 2 small, and I cut up off the plastic so I could move it around and say, well, where do I want that? Where does that look good? And then when I decide where it looks good, I'll go ahead and start putting it on. And I find it's easier if you turn your card this way to get it straight. Straighten the line this way. Okay, now it's done. See what a difference that makes? Just that little bit of an embellishment makes such a big difference. Well, I hope you enjoyed our pop-up card. I hope I didn't confuse you too much. I promise if you watch the video a couple times, maybe you'll figure it out and it won't be so confusing to you. All right, well, that's it. Thanks for joining me for my Workshop Wednesday. And this is the stamp set I'll be working with this month, Sweet Songbirds. So if you haven't got it, pick it up, and be sure to use my current host code, because so if you spend $75 before shipping and tax, you will get free shipping from me, and it will be credited to your PayPal account from me to you